The sun was rising over a quiet little town. The streets were calm, filled with the usual sound of footsteps, the distant rumble of cars, and shopkeepers lifting shutters to start the day. People moved quickly, busy with work, school, or errands. In the middle of this normal morning stood something unusual, something so strange that it froze people in their tracks. Near the old train station, on the cracked stone pavement, an alien woman stood tall. Her skin carried a soft silver glow that caught the light whenever she shifted slightly. She wore a simple dark robe that seemed too big for her thin frame. In her hands she held a large cardboard sign with bold words written in English, "Help Wanted." At first, the people passing by thought it was some kind of joke. Children pointed and laughed, teenagers pulled out their phones to take blurry pictures, and adults shook their heads as if it was just another street performance. But she did not move like a performer. She did not dance, did not call for attention, and did not try to collect money. She simply stood still, her long fingers gripping the edges of the sign, her strange yet gentle eyes staring forward. Hours passed. The alien woman did not sit down, did not ask for food, and did not leave. Her calm patience made some people nervous. A few whispered that maybe she was dangerous. Others thought she was only lost or confused. Cars slowed down near the station just to see her with their own eyes. Some drivers honked, others rolled down their windows to shout, but she did not react. The longer she stood there, the more her presence weighed on the town. By noon, almost everyone had heard of the sight. Still, no one dared to approach her. Fear was stronger than curiosity. Among those who saw her was a man named Daniel. He was not special in any grand way. He worked at a small repair shop, fixing broken radios and machines for people who could not afford new ones. He lived a quiet life in a modest house near the edge of town. Most days were the same for him, filled with work, meals, and long evenings alone. When Daniel first heard of the alien woman, he thought it was an exaggeration. People in his town often made stories bigger than they were. But when he walked past the train station on his way back from the shop, he saw her with his own eyes. She was not a story. She was real. He stopped walking and stared. The alien woman was taller than him by half a head. Her silver skin shimmered faintly like the surface of a calm lake. Her face was shaped like a human's but more delicate, her eyes wider, filled with quiet light. The cardboard sign in her hands looked ordinary, but the way she held it made it seem heavy, as if all her hopes were written on it. Daniel noticed the crowd standing at a distance. Some whispered, some recorded with their phones, but none stepped closer. He also saw the fear in their faces. People wanted to watch her, but no one wanted to help. The alien woman turned her head slightly, scanning the people around her. When her eyes met Daniel's, something in them shifted. They were not wild, not dangerous. They carried a strange mix of exhaustion and hope. For a moment, Daniel felt as if she was asking him directly, without words. He hesitated. He thought of how others would see him if he approached her. They might call him foolish. They might even call the police on him. But the longer he stood there, the more he felt that walking away would haunt him. He had lived a quiet, uneventful life, and for the first time, he was standing in front of something truly extraordinary. Daniel slowly stepped forward. The crowd behind him murmured. Some warned him not to get closer, others mocked him under their breath, but he kept walking. Each step felt heavier than the last, but he did not stop until he was only a few feet away from her. Up close, the alien woman seemed both fragile and strong. Her shoulders were thin, but her posture was steady. The sign trembled slightly in her hands, not from weakness, but from the effort of holding it for so long. Daniel cleared his throat and spoke in a careful voice. "Do you understand me?" he asked. The alien woman tilted her head, then gave a small nod. Her voice, when it came, was soft, like a whisper carried by the wind. "Yes, I learn your words. I need help." The crowd gasped when they heard her speak. Daniel glanced back at them, then looked at her again. "What kind of help?" "My ship is broken," she said slowly, choosing her words with care. "Far from here. I cannot repair alone. I need tools. I need food. I need shelter." Her words were simple but heavy with meaning. Daniel felt a chill down his spine. A real alien ship? A real traveler from the stars stranded on Earth? He could hardly believe it. Yet her voice carried no hint of lying. He scratched the back of his neck. "Why stand here? Why not ask the government? Or call for help?" The alien woman lowered her eyes. "I try, no answer. People fear me. They run. She raised the sign slightly. So I wait. Someone will come. Daniel studied her. She had been standing here for hours, maybe longer, asking strangers with nothing but a cardboard sign. No anger, no force, just hope. He thought of walking away. He thought of letting someone else handle it. But when he looked into her eyes again, he knew he could not. He saw loneliness there, the same kind he carried in his own quiet life. Taking a deep breath, he said, "I'll help you." The alien woman blinked, as if unsure she had heard correctly. "You will?" "Yes," Daniel said firmly. "Come with me. You can rest at my house. We'll figure something out." For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. She lowered the sign and gave a small bow. "Thank you." The crowd behind Daniel erupted in whispers and protests. Some shouted warnings. Others called him insane. But Daniel ignored them. He turned and started walking, and the alien woman followed him closely, her steps quiet but certain. As they moved away from the station, Daniel felt the weight of many eyes on his back. He knew his choice would bring questions, maybe even trouble. But as he glanced at the alien woman walking beside him, he also knew it was the right choice. In that simple moment, something had changed. The town would never forget the strange sight of an alien woman holding a sign for hours, and Daniel would never forget the moment he decided to step forward when everyone else stepped back. He did not know what challenges lay ahead. He only knew that the journey had begun the moment he took her hand and led her away from the crowd. The walk from the train station to Daniel's house was quiet but heavy with meaning. The alien woman followed closely behind him, her steps steady, her silver skin glowing faintly under the afternoon sun. Daniel could feel the weight of curious eyes watching them as they left the crowded area. People whispered from the sidewalks, some recording, some calling out warnings, but neither he nor the alien turned back. Daniel lived on the edge of town, in a modest single-floor house with peeling paint and a small garden in front. His neighbors often ignored him, thinking of him as a quiet man who kept to himself. As he unlocked his front door, he felt a strange sense of nervousness. He had never invited anyone so unusual, so extraordinary, into his home before. "Please," Daniel said, stepping aside. "Come in." The alien woman entered slowly, her tall frame almost brushing the door frame. She looked around the small living room, her wide eyes taking in every detail. The room was simple: an old couch, a small table with scattered tools and shelves stacked with radios, wires, and half-finished machines. It was a working man's house, plain but filled with effort. "You live here alone?" she asked softly. "Yes," Daniel answered, closing the door behind them. "It's not much, but it's safe. You can stay as long as you need." She placed her sign against the wall, almost as if laying down a burden. "Safe," she repeated, as though testing the word. "I am thankful." Daniel gestured toward the couch. "Sit. You must be tired." She obeyed, lowering herself carefully as if the furniture might break under her. Her long fingers brushed against the fabric, and she studied it with quiet curiosity. For a moment, she looked less like an alien and more like a lost traveler who had been given a place to rest. Daniel went into the kitchen and returned with a glass of water and a plate of bread. "I don't know what you eat," he admitted, "but maybe this will help for now." The alien woman accepted the glass. She examined it for a moment before taking a cautious sip. Her face softened and she nodded. "Water is good. This food..." She picked up a piece of bread and sniffed it carefully. Then she took a small bite. Her expression did not change much, but she swallowed and placed the bread back on the plate. "Strange taste. But I can eat," Daniel chuckled nervously. "It's not exactly a meal from the stars, but it will keep you strong." For a while, they sat in silence. Daniel watched her carefully. She seemed calm, but there was a weight in her posture, a hidden weariness. Finally, he spoke again. "You said your ship is broken. Can you tell me more?" The alien woman nodded slowly. "I travel across stars. My ship was damaged near your world. I landed far from here, but I could not repair alone. Many systems broken, no power. I came to this town hoping someone would understand." Daniel leaned forward. "Why not go to the authorities? To the government?" Her silver eyes lowered. "I tried. They fear me. They ask questions but do not listen. They want control, not help. I escaped before they could take me away. I thought, maybe common people have more heart." Her words struck Daniel deeply. He thought of the way the crowd at the station stared at her, afraid to step closer. He thought of the whispers and warnings. And yet here she was, sitting on his couch, trusting him more than anyone else. "You were right to wait," Daniel said quietly. "Not everyone will help, but some will." The alien looked up at him, her expression softening. "And you are one of them." "Why?" Daniel paused. It was not an easy question. Why had he stepped forward when everyone else stepped back? He had no grand reason, no heroic plan. All he knew was that leaving her there felt wrong. "Because you needed help," he finally said. "And because I know what it feels like to be alone." For the first time, her lips curved into a faint smile. It was small, almost unnoticeable, but it carried warmth. "Your name?" she said gently. "What is it?" "Daniel," he answered. She repeated it slowly, as if memorizing it. "Daniel. My name is Mira." The sound of her name filled the room with a quiet strength. It was simple, yet carried a strange beauty. Daniel nodded, feeling a stronger bond forming between them. Hours passed as they talked. Daniel asked about her home, and Mira described a world of tall crystal towers and rivers that shone under twin suns. She told him about her people, who valued knowledge and harmony, who believed in helping strangers across the stars. Daniel listened in awe, realizing how vast the universe was beyond his small town. When evening came, Daniel prepared a small bed for her in the spare room. The sheets were plain, the pillow old, but Mira touched them with quiet wonder as if they were treasures. "You give me a place," she said. "I will not forget," Daniel smiled. "Rest. Tomorrow we'll figure out what to do about your ship." That night, while Mira slept peacefully in the spare room, Daniel lay awake in his own bed. His mind spun with questions. What had he done? Was he in danger for bringing her here? Would the authorities come knocking at his door? Yet beneath all the worry there was something else, an unshakable sense that he had done the right thing. In the days that followed, Mira tried to adjust to life in his small house. She learned quickly, copying Daniel's movements, studying his words, and helping where she could. She struggled with human food but learned to drink tea and eat fruit. She tried wearing one of Daniel's old shirts, which hung loosely on her frame, but she seemed proud just to try. Daniel taught her simple things: how to use the sink, how to switch on a lamp, how to turn the pages of a book without tearing them. In return, Mira showed him things that amazed him. She could touch a broken radio and, with a faint glow from her hands, bring it back to life. She could place her palm over a small cut and make it close in seconds. They shared meals, conversations, and quiet evenings. And with each passing day, Daniel felt less like he had taken in a stranger and more like he had found a companion. But outside his home, whispers grew louder. People had seen him leave the station with the alien. Neighbors began asking questions. Some knocked on his door, demanding to see her. Daniel kept them away, insisting it was none of their business. Yet he knew it would not be long before word reached the authorities again. One evening, Mira stood by the window watching the fading light. "They will come," she said softly. "Your people will not ignore me for long." Daniel joined her, looking out at the quiet street. "Then let them come. You're not alone anymore." Mira turned to him, her silver eyes shining. "Why do you risk this? Your own people may turn against you." "Because it's the right thing to do," Daniel answered. "You needed help. I couldn't walk away. That's all there is to it." Mira studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "You are different, Daniel." "You are not afraid," he laughed softly. "I'm afraid, believe me. But I'd rather be afraid together than safe apart." In that moment, something changed between them. The bond they had built grew stronger, no longer just between a stranded traveler and a kind stranger, but between two beings who chose to trust each other despite the odds. That night, as the town whispered and the authorities prepared to act, Daniel and Mira sat together at the small table in his living room. Two worlds had met not through force or fear, but through a simple act of courage. And though Daniel did not yet know it, his choice to take her home would not only change his life, but would soon challenge the way humanity saw itself in the universe. The days passed slowly at Daniel's house. Mira, the alien woman, had begun to settle into the small routines of human life. Though everything was still strange to her, she woke with the sun, her glowing skin catching the morning light through the curtains. She moved quietly through the house, observing Daniel as he went about his work in the tiny repair shop next door. Daniel had started bringing small items home for Mira to examine. Old radios, broken clocks, and mechanical toys filled the corner of the living room. Mira touched them carefully, her long fingers tracing the edges as if learning about their purpose by feel alone. She had already shown him that she could repair certain devices with a simple touch, but she insisted on trying human methods as well. "You must show me," she said one morning, holding a broken music box. "I want to understand your way." Daniel smiled. "All right. Watch carefully. First you open the side panel." Mira leaned closer, her glowing skin reflecting the faint sunlight. Her eyes, wider than a human's, studied his every movement. She tried to follow, but the small screws were difficult for her long fingers. Daniel laughed softly. "Here, let me help." He guided her hands, showing her how to turn the tiny screwdriver. She copied him quickly, and in a few minutes the music box played a soft, tinkling tune. Mira's eyes lit up with delight. "You humans are clever," she said. "I did not expect this." "You're clever too," Daniel replied. "I have never seen anyone repair something so fast." Over the next few days, Mira helped him with other broken items. Together, they fixed a radio, mended a cracked toy robot, and even repaired an old bicycle. Daniel found it fascinating how quickly she learned. She did not just copy him. She added her own ideas, small changes that made each device work better. When she worked, she hummed a soft sound, almost like music. Daniel noticed that her presence had a calming effect. Even the cats in the neighborhood, which usually avoided humans, wandered closer to the house. Birds seemed to sing a little louder near the garden. It was as if her energy brought life to the quiet surroundings. Yet learning was not easy for Mira. Human food, clothes, and even walking on uneven streets presented challenges. Daniel often found her standing in the kitchen, staring at a plate of eggs or toast, unsure how to begin. "It is strange," she would say softly. "Why do you eat this? Why do you dress like this?" Daniel chuckled. "Because this is our way. It's normal for us." She tilted her head, her glowing eyes curious. "Normal, I see. For me, everything is, different," Daniel nodded. "Yes, for you it must be strange. But you're learning fast." Sometimes Mira became frustrated. She would sit in the corner, her shoulders slumped, and Daniel could see the tension in her body. "I do not understand all," she admitted. "I try, but I fail sometimes." Daniel placed a hand on hers. "Everyone fails at first, even humans. Don't worry, you'll get better. And you are not alone." She looked at him, a soft glow in her eyes. "You are patient, not like others," Daniel smiled faintly. "I try, you are special. Anyone else would have turned away." Evenings became the time when Daniel and Mira shared stories. They sat at the small table in the living room, a simple lamp casting a warm light over the room. Mira told him about the stars she had visited, planets with skies of green and purple, oceans filled with creatures he could only imagine. She described her people's ways, how they valued knowledge, peace, and helping those in need. Daniel listened, amazed at her words. He had never imagined such worlds existed beyond the pages of books. Each story made him feel smaller, yet more connected to the universe. He began to understand that Mira's journey was not just a physical one. It was also a journey of learning and adapting to life far from home. In return, Daniel told her about Earth, about towns like theirs, about the simple joys of human life, about laughter, friendship, and kindness. Mira listened carefully, her glowing eyes softening with each tale. She asked many questions, sometimes pausing for long moments as if trying to remember every detail. "You humans, you have simple ways," she said one night, after he had told her about a festival in town. "Yet you find joy. I did not know such small things could matter so much." Daniel smiled. "It is the small things that make life worth living. You will see. Soon you'll notice them too." Despite her struggles, Mira adapted quickly. She learned to cook simple meals, though they were always slightly different from human dishes. Daniel often laughed at her attempts, but he never mocked her. She learned to walk through the streets without startling people, and even tried reading books, though she sometimes had trouble with the words. One afternoon, while Daniel repaired a small generator in the backyard, Mira sat beside him, watching intently. "Can I try?" she asked. Daniel hesitated, worried she might accidentally hurt herself, but he nodded. "All right," carefully. She placed her hands on the device. A faint glow emanated from her palms. The generator hummed softly and started working again. Daniel stepped back, astonished. "You're amazing," he said. Mira looked at the generator, then at him. "I learn from you, but some things are easier for me." Daniel laughed. "Yes, some things come naturally to you, but we are learning from each other." Their bond grew stronger each day. Mira began to smile more openly, laugh softly at Daniel's jokes, and even playfully tease him. Daniel, in turn, found himself enjoying her presence more than he had expected. Life felt brighter, less lonely. He had never realized how much he had missed having someone to share his day with. At night, they often sat by the window, gazing at the stars. Mira pointed out constellations unfamiliar to Daniel. "That one is from my world," she said softly. "It reminds me of home." Daniel nodded, feeling a pang of sadness for her. "You will see your home again," he said. "And until then you have a place here." Mira's glowing eyes softened. "You are kind. I did not expect this from humans. I thought fear would always follow me." Daniel shook his head. "Not everyone is afraid. Some of us see what is right and help." She studied him for a long moment. "You are different, Daniel. You see with your heart, not your fear." That simple statement touched him deeply. He had never thought of himself as extraordinary. He was just a man who tried to do the right thing. Yet Mira saw something more in him, something he had not noticed himself. As the days continued, Daniel and Mira developed routines together. Mornings were for learning and repairing, afternoons for exploring the small town, and evenings for stories and quiet reflection. Daniel began to see her not as an alien guest, but as a companion, a friend who had changed his world in ways he could not yet fully understand. But Mira also knew her time on Earth was limited. Her ship was still damaged, waiting for parts she could not easily find. She understood that the moment to leave would come soon, even though she had begun to enjoy her life with Daniel. One evening, as the sky turned pink and gold, she stood by the window, her fingers lightly touching the glass. "I wonder, will I ever be able to return to my world?" she asked softly. Daniel stood beside her. "You will. And when you do, you will carry the memory of this place, and maybe a little of what we have learned from each other." Mira nodded slowly. "Yes, I will remember. You have given me more than I expected." "You have given me trust," Daniel smiled, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "And you have given me something too. You've shown me there is more to life than I ever imagined. You've shown me hope." In that moment, the bond between them became unbreakable. It was no longer just the bond of human and alien. It was the bond of two beings who had chosen to trust each other, to learn from each other, and to share their lives, even when the world outside remained uncertain. And so, in Daniel's small house at the edge of the quiet town, Mira continued to learn. She learned about humans, about kindness, and about the small joys that made life meaningful. And Daniel learned about the vastness of the universe, about courage, and about the power of choosing to help when no one else would. In that shared learning, they discovered something extraordinary, that even the smallest acts of understanding and compassion could change two lives forever, and perhaps in time the world around them as well. Life in Daniel's small house had settled into a quiet routine. Mira continued to adapt to human life, learning, laughing, and discovering small joys in the simple world around her. Daniel felt proud and happy to see her thrive, and Mira felt a comfort she had not known since leaving her home world. But the world outside their door had begun to stir with unease. Word of the alien woman who had stood at the train station had spread through the town like wildfire. People whispered in markets, shared videos online, and speculated about her origin. Some believed she was dangerous. Others claimed she had come to spy on Earth or steal secrets. The fact that she lived in Daniel's house only fueled their fear. One morning, Daniel stepped outside to get the newspaper and found a small crowd gathered near his gate. Faces peered over fences and voices murmured warnings. A man with a serious look approached him. "Are you the one sheltering her?" he asked sharply. "Yes," Daniel replied calmly. "She is not dangerous. She is a guest in my home." The man shook his head. "People are worried. Authorities will come soon if she stays here." "You must understand." Daniel's jaw tightened. "She has done nothing wrong. She came here asking for help. She deserves safety, not fear." The man frowned and walked away, muttering to himself. Daniel knew it would not be long before more people arrived, perhaps even law enforcement. Meanwhile, Mira sensed the tension in the air. She stood by the window, watching the approaching figures. "They do not understand," she said softly. "They fear what they do not know." Daniel put a hand on her shoulder. "I know, but you are not alone. We will face them together." Soon the first knock came at the door. Daniel opened it to find 2 town officials standing there, their expressions serious. "Sir, we have received reports of a non-human presence in this residence," one said. "We need to speak with her and ensure she is not a threat." Mira stepped forward, holding her hands calmly. "I mean no harm," she said in her soft, clear voice. "I only seek shelter. I only wish to repair my ship and continue my journey." The officials exchanged uneasy glances. "We need to investigate," one said. "It is for your safety and for the safety of the town." Daniel shook his head firmly. "She is not a threat. You will find no danger here. I will not allow you to take her away without understanding who she is." Mira looked at Daniel, her glowing eyes filled with concern. "Perhaps I should leave," she whispered. "I do not want trouble for you." "No," Daniel said quickly. "You are not going anywhere. I promised you safety. I will keep that promise." The officials hesitated, unsure how to respond. Daniel stood his ground, his calm but firm demeanor making it clear that he would not step aside. After a long pause, they finally nodded reluctantly and left, promising to return if there were more complaints. The tension lingered, however. Neighbors watched the house closely. Strange rumors spread, claiming the alien woman was part of an invasion or that Daniel had been secretly hiding other aliens. Daniel ignored them as best he could, focusing on Mira and her needs. "Why do they fear me so?" Mira asked one evening, her voice tinged with sadness. Daniel considered this carefully. "They are afraid of what they do not understand. Most people have never seen anything like you. They panic and assume the worst." Mira nodded slowly. "I do not want to cause harm. I only want to live in peace, to learn, and to fix my ship." "Why is this so hard for them to accept?" Daniel smiled gently. "Because it is new. Because it challenges their idea of what the world should be. But you are showing them a different truth, one step at a time." In the following days, Daniel and Mira continued their routines, though they took precautions. Windows were kept closed when the crowd gathered outside. Mira avoided venturing into the town alone. Daniel explained that the world was not ready to see her freely, and she accepted this with quiet patience. Mira also began preparing for the eventual need to repair her ship. She examined the damaged parts, tested materials Daniel brought from the repair shop, and carefully planned how to restore her vessel to working condition. She worked late into the night, often with Daniel by her side, learning, assisting, and offering guidance. One afternoon, while Daniel brought a small generator from his shop, a group of neighbors approached the gate again. Their faces were tense, their voices raised in fear. "We know she is here," one shouted. "You cannot hide her forever." Daniel stepped forward. "She is not hiding. She is living. She has harmed no one, and you are wrong to judge her based on fear." The neighbors hesitated, but fear was too strong. They muttered threats and walked away, leaving Daniel and Mira alone once more. Mira placed a hand on his arm. "You are brave," she said softly. "I do not deserve such protection." "You do," Daniel replied. "Everyone deserves kindness. You are no exception." At night, they discussed strategies for facing the world. Mira suggested she could leave and travel to another location to avoid conflict, but Daniel refused. "You are not alone," he said firmly. "I will not let fear decide what we do. We face this together." They also began talking about trust and humanity. Mira admitted she had feared humans before arriving on Earth, expecting only hostility. Daniel admitted that many humans were indeed frightened and selfish at times, but also capable of courage and compassion. "You are proof," Mira said quietly. "Not all humans are afraid. Some can see with the heart." "And you," Daniel replied, "are proof that courage and kindness can cross worlds." The bond between them grew stronger as the tension outside increased. They learned to communicate silently, to anticipate each other's needs, and to work together in small daily tasks. Mira taught Daniel new methods for repairing broken machines, sometimes using her glow to mend delicate parts. Daniel taught Mira patience, careful observation, and how to interact with humans in subtle ways that would not provoke fear. One evening, Mira walked to the window and looked at the fading light. "I feel hope," she said softly. "Even when fear surrounds us, your presence gives me courage." Daniel joined her. "And your presence gives me hope too," he admitted. "I have lived a quiet life, and now I see what it means to trust someone completely." The days turned into weeks, and the outside world continued to watch them closely. Authorities checked the town periodically, Neighbors whispered constantly, and strangers drove past, staring at the house with curiosity and fear. Daniel grew tired of the constant vigilance, but he never wavered in his protection of Mira. Mira, in turn, prepared diligently for the repair of her ship. Each piece she examined, each system she analyzed, brought her closer to returning home. Yet she also grew attached to the life she had found with Daniel, the quiet evenings, the shared laughter, and the simple routines of human living. One afternoon, Daniel set up a small workshop in the garage to help Mira with the larger parts of her ship. They worked side by side, carefully analyzing broken circuits and damaged panels. Mira marveled at Daniel's mechanical skills, while he was amazed by her otherworldly knowledge. Together they made progress inch by inch, preparing for the day she would leave Earth. Yet the presence of neighbors, authorities, and curious onlookers reminded them both that time was limited. Daniel knew that the outside world might never fully accept Mira, no matter how kind she was. Mira knew that returning home would be bittersweet. One evening, after a long day of work, they sat quietly in the living room. Mira looked at Daniel, her glowing eyes soft and thoughtful. "When the time comes, I will leave," she said. "But I will never forget what you have given me. You have shown me courage, trust, and friendship." Daniel reached for her hand. "And I will never forget you. You have shown me that the universe is bigger than I ever imagined. You have shown me that kindness and trust can cross any boundary." They sat together, holding hands in silence, listening to the quiet sounds of the town. Outside, the world continued to whisper, to judge, and to fear. Inside, they had built a small universe of understanding, courage, and companionship. And though challenges still waited beyond their doors, Daniel and Mira had learned something powerful: that even when the world is afraid, courage and kindness can shine brightly, protecting those who choose to act with love and trust. The sun rose over Daniel's quiet little town, casting a golden light over the streets. For weeks, the town had been restless, filled with whispers and rumors about the alien woman living in Daniel's house. Yet in the midst of the fear and uncertainty, a small, extraordinary bond had grown between Daniel and Mira. It was a bond built on trust, courage, and kindness, one that had quietly changed them both. Mira's ship was finally ready. After weeks of careful repair and testing, the vessel now stood in the garage, its damaged panels replaced, its systems glowing faintly with power. The alien woman examined it with a mixture of relief and sadness. She had traveled across stars to explore, to learn, and now she was on the verge of returning to her world. Daniel watched her closely, noticing the subtle changes in her posture. Her shoulders were straight, her glowing eyes steady. Yet there was a softness, a quiet hesitation that had not been there before. He understood that she was torn between leaving and staying, between returning to the stars and embracing the life she had found on Earth. "Are you ready?" Daniel asked gently, approaching her side. Mira turned, her silver eyes meeting his. "I am ready," she said slowly. "But my heart is heavy. This world, your kindness, it is different from any place I have known." Daniel smiled softly. "You do not have to choose yet. Stay a little longer. Rest. We have time before you depart." They spent the morning preparing for the ship's final tests. Daniel helped Mira check the systems, ensuring that each connection was secure, each mechanism aligned. Mira worked carefully, her long fingers moving with precision and care. Together they made sure everything was perfect. As the ship powered up, a soft hum filled the garage. Lights glowed inside the vessel, reflecting off Mira's silver skin. She placed her hands on the controls, feeling the energy flow through the systems. "It is ready," she said, her voice calm but tinged with emotion. Daniel nodded, proud and sad at the same time. "You have done it. You are ready to return home." Mira looked at him, her eyes searching his face. "I cannot leave without thanking you," she said. "You saved me when no one else would. You saw me as I am, not as a threat. That is more than I expected from humans." Daniel shook his head. "I did what anyone should do. You needed help. You deserved it." She smiled, a soft, radiant glow filling her expression. "No one else would have stood by me like you did. You changed my journey. You gave me hope." The quiet of the garage was broken by distant footsteps. Daniel glanced outside and saw neighbors and townspeople gathering near the street. Some had brought cameras, others looked worried or angry. Daniel realized that word of the ship's repair had spread. People wanted to see the alien leave or perhaps witness her powers. Mira noticed the crowd too. "They watch us," she said softly, a hint of concern in her voice. Daniel placed a hand on her arm. "Let them watch. You have nothing to fear. You are ready, and they will see that you mean no harm." The townspeople whispered among themselves as they watched Mira move toward the ship. Many of them had feared her, imagining danger or deceit. But seeing her work quietly, carefully, with no aggression or threat began to shift their perspective. Her calm presence and deliberate actions made it clear that she only sought to leave peacefully. Mira stepped inside the ship, her hands on the controls. She turned to Daniel one last time. "Thank you for your courage, for your kindness, for trusting me." Daniel smiled, feeling a mix of pride, sadness, and hope. "You do not need to thank me. You have shown me something too. You have shown me that humanity can rise to meet extraordinary challenges. We can be brave, compassionate, and wise when it matters most." Mira's eyes glowed brighter, and a soft hum resonated from the ship. "Then perhaps I will return one day, and we will meet again." Daniel nodded. "I will be here, waiting if you need a friend." The crowd outside watched in awe as the ship's engines began to glow steadily. The soft hum grew louder, then quieter, as if the vessel itself was breathing. Mira adjusted the controls, tested the systems one last time, and prepared for liftoff. As the moment approached, something remarkable happened. The townspeople who had gathered, once fearful and suspicious, began to step forward slowly. Some raised their hands in greeting. Others smiled faintly, realizing that the alien they had feared was leaving peacefully, not as a conqueror but as a traveler. One young boy shouted, "Goodbye." "Thank you for visiting." A woman in the crowd added, "Safe travels. Come back soon." Mira turned her gaze toward the town, her glowing eyes softening. "Your courage, your hearts." "Thank you," she said. "I will remember you all." Daniel stepped closer to the ship. "Take care, Mira, and know that you are welcome here anytime." She placed her hand on the edge of the door. "I will carry your trust with me," she said. "It will guide me across the stars." With a final glance at Daniel, Mira initiated the launch sequence. The ship lifted gently, hovering above the garage. Its engines glowed brighter and a soft light bathed the surrounding area. The crowd watched silently, witnessing something extraordinary, the harmony of courage, trust, and kindness in action. Then, with a graceful motion, the ship ascended into the sky. Mira waved from the cockpit and Daniel waved back, feeling the warmth of hope and pride fill his chest. The townspeople clapped, cheered, and smiled, their fear replaced by admiration. They had witnessed a moment that would stay with them forever, a moment when humanity had risen to meet something extraordinary with courage and compassion. Mira's ship disappeared into the horizon, leaving a faint glow in the sky. Daniel stood silently, feeling a mixture of joy and melancholy. He knew she had returned to her world, but he also knew the lessons she had taught him, and the lessons he had shared, would remain forever. In the days that followed, the town slowly returned to its usual routines, but something had changed. People spoke differently about the unknown, about courage, and about kindness. Stories of Mira and Daniel's bravery spread, inspiring others to act with compassion and trust rather than fear. Daniel returned to his repair shop, but life felt brighter now. He remembered Mira's words, her glowing eyes, and the quiet strength she had shown. He repaired machines, helped neighbors, and lived with a renewed sense of purpose. In the quiet evenings, he sometimes looked at the stars, imagining Mira traveling across the universe. He smiled, knowing that she carried a piece of humanity with her, just as he carried a piece of the stars in his heart. Months later, a faint signal appeared in Daniel's workshop, a small flicker of light on one of his instruments. He recognized it immediately, a message from Mira. The signal carried no words, only a pattern of light that mirrored the rhythm of her glow. Daniel smiled, understanding the meaning without needing translation. "I am safe. I remember. I am grateful." He felt a warmth spread through him, a quiet reassurance that their bond, though separated by worlds, was unbroken. Humanity had risen to meet the extraordinary, and kindness, trust, and courage had carried the day. Daniel knew that life would continue, full of ordinary days and small challenges. But he also knew something extraordinary had happened. a reminder that even in fear and uncertainty, humans could rise above, embrace courage, and shine with the best of what they could be. And somewhere, far across the stars, Mira smiled, knowing that she had found not just a home but a friend, a guide, and a reminder of the enduring strength of humanity. The story of the alien woman and the human man became a quiet legend in the town, a story of hope, trust, and courage. It reminded everyone that even in the simplest acts, greatness could be found, and it proved in the truest way that humanity could shine, even when faced with the unknown.